What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Arrive and Drive. I'm your host, Zach. I'm like the only one here this week. Nate's on a date because we're recording on Valentine's Day. He's got a heart-shaped pizza and he's watching movies with a girl. Evan is being a good college student. He's buried in homework, so he's not here. Shout out to him off of a great debut in WRL Sports Cars, driving BMW M2. He had two top 10 finishes at NOLA this past weekend. And Jordan is at a team dinner currently. He's been pretty busy with Indy Pro 2000 preseason testing. So the boys are busy, but we are here grinding. We've got a great guest this week. Grant Palmer is here. Grant, how are we doing tonight, bud?
Good. How are you?
I'm great, man. So first thing we're going to jump into, let's do Bozo of the Week right off the bat. So this past weekend, I was back home in Ohio, and I came back yesterday, Sunday, and it was a 6-hour drive, and I was watching the Super Bowl. Nothing, I didn't really think much of it. A lot of people were watching the Super Bowl, but also the Podium 500 was going on yesterday. If people don't know what the Podium 500 is. It's an event put on by Podium Esports on iRacing, and it's Cup cars, Daytona, 500 miles, that kind of deal. They got a lot of preliminaries, heats, LCQs, all that stuff. It's a huge event. It was the fourth one, and basically top two guys took each other out coming to the line. Second place guy ended up winning. Everybody thought, yep, that's the finish of the race, whatever. Hours later, we're talking hours into the night, Podium Esports releases a statement saying that the guy that crossed the line first was being penalized for spinning the other guy coming to the start-finish line. So they reversed the top two. And then everybody was outraged on Twitter, and they turned around literally this evening of us recording this, and they reversed the order again to the original order. You cannot make this up. One of the longtime announcers resigned. It's a complete fiasco. Who would have ever thought you'd see this kind of turmoil in sim racing? Grant and I both do a lot of iRacing, but kind of crazy that some high school antics are taking place on the esports side.
Yeah, when I didn't see the race, I didn't see what happened, but I think if you're the official and you make your call, you kind of have to stick by it. And we all saw the F1 race in Abu Dhabi last year, where it was controversial, but the officials made their choice, and they listened to what the fans had to say, but they stuck with their ruling of it. They didn't, let Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, whatever, change the outcome of the race.
I completely agree with that. I mean, it's one thing, even if you get a call wrong, or maybe it's not a highly favored call, you make your call. That's your interpretation of the rule. In most cases, I feel like race control, even of esports events, I feel like race controls do a pretty decent job. 9 times out of 10, they probably make the right call, or it was just a ball and strike call, and it just comes down to whatever call you make. And it's very hard to question it. Now, this is one of those where you make a call and you stick to it, and I agree with you, Grant. And it was kind of one of those where you can't let outside parties influence your decision, especially well after the fact. The session was over, the broadcast was well over. If you got to make a post-race penalty, you make one, you stick to it. And we've experienced this in my league before. To add some context to this, I run a league myself, and basically, if there's any potential post-race penalties, we have a reviewing process, and if there's nothing else to review, I ask, hey, does anybody else need anything reviewed? No, okay. Results are official. So if somebody comes at you 3 days later, hey, I was ran into on lap 3 in turn 2. Well, sorry about it. You should have brought it up during the race or after the race. Results are official. So that's how it is. Bozo of the Week, by far, Podium Esports. Bozo move. Come on, man.
Hopefully they, if they, went back on their word, hopefully it's because they rewatched it, and when they decided to give second place the win, right then and there. I don't know what all happened. I didn't watch it, but I'm just going off of what you told me in the last 5 minutes or so. If they like a day later, they go back and rewatch it and determine, whatever happened, and then they make their change. I understand that, and it's not the influence of people on the internet.
Yeah, but to me, that would seem like an oversight in the review process. That if they didn't watch it enough or didn't watch it from enough angles, to me
Yeah.
that just kind of seems like, man, they just didn't get it right. Regardless, they didn't get it right. If they have
Yeah.
to keep going back on their call, so very unfortunate, and especially, Podium Esports has been a very highly esteemed broadcast company within iRacing. They've done a lot of high-profile events. So to see this kind of turmoil for not only an event that they covered, but them as a company, it's very unfortunate. So hopefully they get that sorted out and they move forward with it. Let's move on to dumb things to do on the racetrack. Grant Palmer, this is a segment that we like to do with our guests. Sometimes we do it as, us as hosts. Give you an example. One time I crashed my go-kart into a cornfield. What is the dumbest thing that you've done on a racetrack, or the dumbest thing that you've seen somebody else do on the racetrack?
I've got 3 of my own
Let's hear it. Let's go. I want to hear it.
So
Yeah.
I'll go in chronological.
Okay, let's go.
2020, I'm living in the UK. We're at Brands Hatch, Formula Ford.
Historic racetrack, yeah.
And I don't remember if it was Champion of Brands, maybe BRSCC, something. We do our formation lap, come up to the grid, and I'm like super excited because I know I have a really good shot at getting on the podium. And so I think there were like 20 cars in the field or something. It was a high number of cars, and the lights, the lights come on, and I take the car out of first gear, and
Ooh.
I literally took it out of first gear and wiggled, like I did the neutral wiggle to make sure it was out of gear. And then the lights went out, I let out the clutch, RPM just went straight up, everyone went past me, and I went down to, I think, 14th by turn 1. Finished P6 of that race.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that story. I think we were working, so like for context, Grant and I worked together at the Gateway Carplex, and I remember you telling me that story.
Yeah.
Very crazy, because when I think of Formula Fords in, or F1600s in the UK, I mean, very competitive. So when you say when you go from 14th to 6th in a race, that's pretty crazy. Driving through, almost half the field.
I think I just have a little bit of confidence.
I would say so.
Looking for strange ways to pass people, I think.
Yeah. So was this the full course, or was this like the IndyCar, the Champ Car
course? This was the Champ Car course, short.
Okay.
You go through Surtees and then go straight to Clearways.
Yeah. Dale Jr. loves that layout. He's openly talked about it several times, and I've ran that layout on R Factor. Excuse me, I've ran that layout on R Factor before, and I love that layout with the Champ Car.
It's an awesome layout. When you go into the last corner, if the guy ahead of you opens the door, you just shove the car in and just fight off the corner.
Yeah, that's like that Senna quote. Something. Yeah. I'm gonna paraphrase: if gap, then car. I think that's the
something
meme,
like that.
Paraphrase of that.
Somewhere in there, you got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, racing in the UK, it was, Hey, Jordan.
Hello.
Jordan's here.
I am.
Look who finally decided to show up.
Yeah, right. Anyway,
So
continue
yeah,
on the
racing in the
conversation.
UK. We're on yeah, dumbest things we can do. I took the car out of first gear at the start.
Was this in a
That
USF
was
2000 race or
number
something?
one. This was Formula Ford in the UK at Brands Hatch,
Okay.
2020. Number two, this was a USF thing. Spring training last year, we were at Barber, and we're all sitting on pit lane, and track's cold, no one go out, and I see someone pull out and drive to the end of pit lane, and my mechanic was like, start the engine, go to the end of pit lane. So I'm driving down pit lane past everyone, following this guy. I don't remember which car it was, and
Do you remember what team it was at least?
I don't remember what team.
Okay.
Mainly
A lot of
because
the
I was
team,
just focused. What?
like for context, a lot of the team cars are like the same. Like D-Force is blue.
Yeah.
J Howard, they're like blue and red. You know,
Mhm.
Cape is usually white and red.
Yeah.
So-
I don't remember. I just remember seeing him pull out, and then my mechanic was like, go park at the end of pit lane. Track's about to go green. And so I'm driving up there, and then the marshal at the end of pit lane stops us, and he talks to the car ahead of me, and I see him like kind of point toward pit exit and then to the back of the pit lane. And so I move forward a little bit. The car ahead of me goes, and I see him go down the hill at the pit exit.
Yeah.
And I assumed that the gate to the left side of pit exit, where you go back into the paddock, was closed, because I saw him go down the hill. So I'm like, oh, he did a lap, comes back into pit lane. So then the marshal tells me, go out, and then he like points toward the pit exit, and then points to the back of pit lane. So go out, go around, and come back in through
Come
the
back
back.
in. Like an install lap, basically.
So I'm like, okay, I'll go out, drive around the track very slowly, and then come back to pit lane. So I do that, come back to pit lane, stop. He like appears at the pit box, and he's like, no, you were supposed to go out into the paddock. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I assumed the paddock was closed because I saw the car ahead of me go down the hill into the pit exit, and that was all I could see of him.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I didn't want to say, like, you said go out, go around, come into the pit, like, so I drove onto a red flagged racetrack.
So I mean, what was the point of, like, you guys going to the end of pit road and then circling back around through the paddock? Like, what was the point of that, I guess?
They didn't want anyone parking at the pit exit, or like the end of pit lane for when the track goes green. So that was embarrassing, and I thought about that all day.
I mean, if that's the worst reprimand you could get for that, that's not terrible. Because
well, it was.
I feel like
I think because it was spring training, they let me get away with it. And I like apologized to the marshal at least 5 or 6 times while I was sitting in the car, and it's like, it's okay, just, you know.
Jeez. I mean, if it's not, I mean, obviously this was your first year of USF, and it was spring training, so pretty new to it. And I'm sure they've seen their fair share of stuff. You know, I'm sure they've seen some pretty interesting things.
So same, I think it was the same week. Yeah, same week. At Barber, they have a Porsche driving experience, and they had all these 911s lined up, and they're washing them with a like power washer thing. And so I was the first one in to the paddock. And so we're driving around, take the left where the gate is, where I was supposed to go. And I see this this hose, this water hose about that thick. And I stop in front of it, and the guy's like, just drive over it. I'm like, there's no, I'm not gonna make it. And he's like, yeah, I'll watch. And so I'm like, I don't think so. He's like, yeah, you'll make it all the time. So I drive over. I feel the first hump of the front tires going over, and then I feel the second little bump of the rear tires going over. And so I'm like, okay, I'll drive away. And as I look in the right mirror, I see the like compressor just slowly catching up to the car.
No.
And I instantly stop. And this guy comes over and they like lift the rear of the car, push me over, and this guy just starts getting yelled at like, you know, they're not
Yeah.
able to drive over this.
Yeah.
And the guy was
I'm
like, I
surprised
thought
you
you
didn't
could
get
make
caught
it.
up on the under tray.
Oh, it did. And it started yanking the compressor toward the car.
Oh,
And
I see.
We got back to the trailer and we were looking at footage. Billy had his laptop open and the video was just playing, and I'm like, you were right behind me, so you probably got this on video. And you just see the this thing just come rocketing at the car, and it stops maybe like 6 inches away from the rear wheel.
Whew, that is nightmare fuel. That is. So was the car okay?
Oh yeah, it was just the hose got snagged in the under tray and started dragging along with me.
So why is this not documented on like Instagram or something? Like that is hilarious.
I
feel like that would go
I'll text
viral.
Billy. I'll text Billy.
That'd be-
Hopefully he has the footage of it. I
Dude.
really want the footage.
That would go viral on like TikTok or something. You
Yeah,
see a car
because-
run over it, and the compressor get like a yo-yo.
Because,
Like
I literally came to a stop, and he's like, yeah, come over. I'm like, no, and he's like, you guys do this all the time. I'm like, I don't think we do, but I'm new, so what do I know? And you know,
you knew more than this guy. That's for sure. You
I
definitely
think
knew
about this
a little bit
specific
more.
situation, yeah, just a little bit more.
Wow. So I'm really surprised you named 3 instances. I'm really surprised you
Well,
did not
so that's
talk about
two.
Cartplex. Oh, okay.
I'll get to the Cartplex.
Okay. Oh, that's your third one. Okay. All right. Let's
this
hear it.
is the famous Cartplex one.
And there is video of this. There is documentation.
Oh, yeah.
Of this. Can confirm this has happened.
I like how you know exactly what it is.
Yeah, I knew as soon as I asked you this question what one of your responses was going to be.
Yeah. So it's 9/11, 2021. I was at
That was on
a-
9/11?
Yeah, that was on 9/11. I think.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, dude.
And so I was at a memorial, and I text Keith, I'm gonna be late. I'm at this memorial doing pictures and stuff. And then I go to Subway across the street from Gateway, the famous Pilot gas
Pilot
station.
station, yeah. Where we literally get food from every day for lunch, yeah.
Yes. And I waited 15 minutes for this lady to even go, like, do you want it toasted?
The service in there is really bad,
Yeah, it was really bad
Really
this
bad.
time.
especially at Taco
And-
Bell.
It takes me like 20 minutes to get the sandwich. Clock in, grab my earpiece. Ryan's like, we need you at the North Pole. I'm like, okay, fine. Everything's fine. And I'm standing there with Gabe, and I got my sandwich in hand. I'm gonna be the race director on the north side of the track. And formation lap, for 206 rookie. It'll be fine. They're all
Yep.
driving by. I'm getting the radio ready to say throw the green flag. Is there?
Was this was Ignite, wasn't it? Or was this
Yeah,
Super?
this was.
I think it was
I think
Ignite.
it was
I think it was a
Ignite.
Saturday race.
I think it was Ignite.
Yeah, so this would have been
And-
Ignite. Yeah, Ignite rookie.
Yeah, and I'm watching them all go into the hairpin. They're all past us,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like ready to either take a bite of my sandwich or like get ready to get on the radio. And I'm got my back to the side of the track, and we're in this little sort of access road. It's part of the regular track, but
Yeah.
for those of you who haven't been at the Kartplex, we opened up the back side of the track. So where you'd normally go through a horseshoe, you just go straight past it. So
Yeah.
we kind of made this access road, which is where I stand and watch the race from. And I'm standing there with my sandwich, radio on my collar, and Gabe just yells, "Watch out!" And I turn around, and by the time I turn around, there's already a go-kart coming backwards at me, and he's already 10 feet away or less.
Gosh.
No time to react. I go over it, slam into the pavement, and then I remember thinking like my elbow got scraped up. My ankle hurts, so I should take off my shoe in case it's broken and sit down and wait for someone to come get me. and luckily, who had the track day experience going? It was one of the.
It was
the
either
Kyle
Porsche
Petty?
Club or it was
the
Kyle Petty. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So there was an ambulance 30 feet away, luckily.
yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like in shock and adrenaline going through me because I'm like, I can't be hurt. I might
Right.
have some kind of racing opportunity come up in the next few weeks. And I remember putting my shoe back on, getting in the golf cart, and then being like, someone grabbed the other half of my sandwich.
Yes. Nate told us the story last week.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Nate's version of the story was, all right, so Grant is standing at the North Pole, and then he gets hit by a go-kart, and he's like, where's my Subway sandwich? And then,
Yeah, I was
then
fine.
you got your sandwich, and then apparently, like according to Nate, he said that you asked him, do you want the rest of my Subway sandwich?
Yeah, so order of events, I get hit, take my shoe off, sit down. I get on the radio and ask for like a bottle of water and a bandage to wrap up my elbow, which was bleeding,
Yeah.
and no one brings it. I'm like, someone, instead of everyone rushing here, get me something like to help
To help.
the two of us that got run over by a go-kart.
Yeah, because Gabe
Gabe
didn't
ended up
break his-
underneath it, and the kid I
Yeah.
heard, tried to
Well,
drive
she was
away
wearing
while.
boots, but
Yeah, he was lucky. He was wearing steel-toe boots. I was
Yeah.
in gym shoes and shorts and a t-shirt.
because he had to
So,
work inside for a while after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think he
and
was also in a sling the season before because of like football, maybe.
I think so.
I think
And I just
so.
want to
Yeah.
say, I rewatched the video, and I think it's like 3.3 seconds between the point of impact to me standing back up. So I just want to say,
Oh.
like,
That's pretty quick.
good
Yeah.
recovery. And then
It was
within,
probably
like, 5
just the
seconds, I'm
adrenaline,
back
I would
down.
imagine.
Oh, absolutely.
Had to be
Um,
kicking in.
oh yeah, and I knew it too because I was like, I should probably sit down in case my foot's broken and stop walking on it because
Yeah.
Yeah.
if anything's broken, I can't feel it right now.
Yeah.
But like, I take my shoe off, put it back on, nothing's broken, nothing's blue or purple or anything, and the medical team that happened to be there get me on a golf cart. I'm like, get my sandwich. I waited 20 minutes for that thing. Um,
Who the fuck? Worry about the sandwich.
and I call my parents who were 15 minutes away, still at the memorial, and My mom comes in, my dad comes in, they're freaking out. I'm like, I'm fine, I just got run over. I don't think anything's broken, I'm just in pain.
I'm fine. The
And-
go-kart just tried to kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And get my mom gets in the Audi and she drives as we're driving away, I'm like, I don't really have the appetite for the sandwich anymore. I'm just upset that I got run over on a formation lap. And I wasn't even on the racing surface.
Yeah.
So
To provide a little bit more context, where Grant was standing was next to, like he said, which we turned into an access road, basically to where it was a backwards configuration, and if you had to enter the pits, you wouldn't have been able to under a typical race condition because you would have had to do a U-turn to turn into the pits.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, this access road kind of juts out to the inside of the track and then kind of wraps around that you could, you sit there and wait and then drive across once the track is clear, rather than trying to do a U-turn and get ran over. So Grant was standing there, and Gabe Stratton was also standing there, and this was the formation lap of Ignite Rookie, and somebody was catching the field. It was one of the I know who it is. I'm just not going to say the kid's name, but It was a kid that moved up from kid karts, and it was like one of his first ever races in Ignite Rookie. He was starting at the back of the field, and he was just catching the field, and the straightaway was long enough, but it was just probably the nerves, and a bigger car and everything, and he just locked up the brakes and spun it.
Looking at the video, I think he just went through the corner, and he was already, last corner there, or what is usually the last corner's flat out, and then you have the straightaway, and then I think by the time he registered, this is the formation lap, everyone's going into the hairpin for the last turn. I should probably hit the brakes so I don't rear end anyone, even though
Right.
he was at least 5 seconds back, which is why it caught me so off guard.
Yeah.
And then he happened to spin, let go of the wheel kind of, and then the cart hooked back at Gabe and I and perfectly hit us.
So, and this kid in particular, and I'm not going to dunk on this kid by any means, was actually very successful in kid karts, won almost every race. So obviously clearly talented. It was probably just the nerves of moving up, and yeah, it was just very unfortunate, but crazy nonetheless.
But I was just so upset because I was like, I clocked in, and then 15 minutes later I'm getting
rocked by a go-kart.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that was fun.
So you kind of got your start, if I remember correctly, you got your start racing karts at the Kartplex.
At the
How long ago
Kartplex,
did you How long ago did you get started racing?
That was August 1st, 2015. That was my first race.
Okay.
So that was the first full season of Gateway, because they had the fall season of 14.
Yeah.
That was their first true season, but the real first full season was 15. So you joined that season.
Yeah, I joined halfway through and got 5th place in the championship.
Nice.
That's a good.
So that was junior, right? You were in junior?
Yeah, Ignite Junior.
Yeah. So, how'd you get your interest in racing? Because, most kids, they say, oh, yeah, I had family that they liked racing, so I liked racing, or they knew somebody that liked racing. How'd you get into it? How'd you get interested in it?
I've just always watched racing.
Really?
We were from Chicago originally, and I used to play baseball.
That's why you're a Blackhawks fan.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not registering.
But I'm not a Cubs fan, kind of a White Sox fan, because they used to have Ordonez and Konerko and Dye, Tomey, all those guys. And so I used to play baseball, but every single time, as soon as I got home, it was just watching racing, playing with Hot Wheels.
Yep.
I think I was the only kid on the street who didn't send their Hot Wheels down the drain. So I still have them. I still have some Hot Wheels in the room back here.
That's awesome.
And I used to watch Michael Schumacher right before he retired. There
Mhm.
was Tony Stewart in NASCAR.
Yep.
You had
Yep.
Weldon and Danica
IndyCar.
in IndyCar,
Yep.
and then Dan Weldon did the Hot Wheels thing, which I thought was like the Hot Wheels Battle Force 5 thing, which I thought was awesome. And then he went on to win the 500 that year, or like right after that. And then I like just kept watching NASCAR and Formula One mostly, and then I really got into IndyCar around 2016, 2017.
Okay.
So I've just always been watching racing. I found out about this little website called YouTube where you could type in anything and it would come up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just find racing footage and just watch it all day.
Yeah, that's pretty typical, I think, for most kids. They like racing, and I remember watching crash compilations of NASCAR racing
Yeah.
2003 season, and it was usually like screamo metal music.
Yeah. In the
Yeah,
background.
Breaking Benjamin and
Yeah.
all that other stuff.
Yeah, the most popular NR 2003 montage would have been Hard to See, I think. I think it was Hard to See by, I forget who the artist is, but that was a meme for the longest time, that crash compilation. So you get started at Carplex. How'd you find out about Carplex?
I came home from school one day and then I'd been living in St. Charles, Missouri for 2 years now,
Mhm.
and I was just going to school, coming home, going to school, coming home, because I stopped playing baseball. And my parents got me in the car one day, and they were like, "We're gonna go out to Gateway," and I get in a rental cart. I end up meeting Matt Cowie, and
Yeah.
he's like, you ran a really good time for your first session ever in a go-kart, so there is a racing series here and all this other stuff. And then we watched the racing, and my parents gave me the choice of a first car or a go-kart, and I chose the go-kart.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and that's how it all started.
Wow, that's crazy.
Because
So-
the go kart you can actually race. The car, you can't.
Yeah, and I was 14, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as a 14-year-old, turning 16, that seems so far away. So,
Yeah.
Go kart, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Plus, not to mention, you speed in a go kart. That's commonplace. That's expected. You speed in a street car, you're getting tickets. So
I'm
that makes
more
sense.
nervous driving on the streets like than on a racetrack.
I agree,
That-
especially in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Especially in St. Louis, there's some really bad drivers in St.
Yeah,
Louis.
so
There-
on the way to the banquet, I called my
This year?
dad. The Cartplex banquet
Yeah,
earlier this month.
yeah,
I
yeah.
called my dad and I was like, I've almost been sideswiped by 3 people. I've almost been rear-ended by a truck.
Yep.
I would rather like someone I know who lives in that area. I'd rather spend the night there and drive back early in the morning
Mhm.
When it's
than-
daylight.
rather than driving back at 11 p.m. on a Friday night.
Because it's arguably worse the darker it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've like there have been a couple nights that I'd come home late from St. Louis, and it'll be 11:30, midnight, 12:30 in the morning, and it's insane. Like you would think traffic would at some point die out. People just drive dumber, and
Yeah.
obviously vision is much more limited, so it's kind of sketchy.
I think
Yeah,
that's
when we
the-
had late nights. Oh, go ahead, Jordan.
I think that's the case too. People get dumber. Also, it gets harder to see too, and a lot of people
Yeah.
just become like deer in headlights, basically, to where
Yeah.
they just kind of lose their mind when they see headlights in front of them. So it's something
Right.
like that. But also to bring back to the point about you saying it's probably safer on the racetrack than it is in the actual road. When you're on the racetrack, you're maybe with, let's just say, I'll give you a karting example. You're with like 70 different cars. Let's say that. But at the same time, you have safety equipment on that you're dealing with. You're let's say, buckled in a car or something. You're in a tightly confined space that you need a very, very hard impact in order to potentially be able to hurt you. And most of the drivers who are racing have at least some sensible driving skill. So,
Yeah.
whereas your average person on the road could be distracted looking at their phone, looking at something else, not paying attention to what's going on. When you're on the racetrack, everyone's paying attention to every little millisecond you're on there because you're actually racing for position. So everyone's focused
Yeah.
on what's going on, the task at hand.
Well, plus there's also no 18-wheelers on a go-kart track.
That too. Yeah, you got no.
Yeah, you don't have to
rules.
worry about getting sandwiched.
You got
If,
no.
if we look at
Well-
Coda a few years ago,
I will
with
put one moment
the
here.
school bus.
Zach, the one moment, yeah. To Grant's point, there was a school bus on the racetrack. We'll get to that in a second. But you do
Wait,
have the
hold on,
the
what?
lap cars to deal with.
Man, that's yeah. I mean, karting. I mean, not to mention you talk about safety. The barriers are designed for you to crash into.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I know like roads, like highway systems have over time become safer for incidents that take place, but I mean, crashing into the end of an attenuator, there's not many outcomes to that.
Yeah.
There's about 3. And you're either unharmed, seriously harmed, or worse. So, yeah, I would take my chances on a go-kart track any day. So,
Yeah.
let's see. You started racing Kartplex. I think, if I remember correctly, you were doing a little bit of Ignite, a little bit of Super Comp, like
Yeah,
Yamaha
so
stuff, and you
it was,
traveled a little bit, right?
It was Ignite, and then we went to Daytona,
Yeah.
and it was a little iffy on some of the karts with their body work, I think. And that was like my first big race. Within 6 months of starting racing, we were at WKA Daytona
Mhm.
for 206 Junior, and that was like my first sort of like manufacturer battle, I guess, where I
Yeah.
was seeing
Yeah.
more than one chassis on track. And the next year, I ran the full season of Ignite and Super Comp and against Evan. And then at the end of the year, there was this Brava chassis that was just sitting in the garage with a for sale sign on it for like $2,000, and it already had wheels and everything. It just didn't have the engine on it.
sure.
And I told my dad we should sell the 206, buy the chassis that's sitting right here. My dad's like, "Oh, we don't need that." And then we're going to like the last race, the last Super Comp at Gateway. And my dad's like, "Oh yeah, this is ours, by the way." And he puts the engine on it. And then, so I ran my first Yamaha race at Gateway. And then the next race I did was in Daytona the next year.
Nice.
That's cool.
And then I started I got recommended to work with Phil Giebler, so I tried that out, Phil Giebler Racing, and I started running X30 with him in like February.
Mhm.
And
February of
was
17?
17.
Yeah.
And first time like racing in the rain and all that other stuff, because SCUSA didn't care if it was raining, you're
Yep.
racing. And that was brand new to me. I like couldn't believe it, and it was so much fun to just race an X30 in the rain. So then I'm back and forth between Margay and Phil with Ricardo Kart, and then we ended up going with the Ricardo Kart stuff because it was I got kind of tired of racing against like the same competition at Gateway all the time,
Mhm.
and I felt like I needed to see more tracks and more people to race against as well. And then just doing that, we were able to meet more people that could potentially help with racing along the way.
Yeah, connections.
Yeah,
I mean, you're
And
racing
so-
nationally too. I mean, you're gonna
yeah,
the potential for building these connections are certainly much greater. Not to mention you're already driving for Phil Giebler, so You know, I mean, if I remember correctly, if memory serves me right, he was in the Red Bull. He was
He
one of the
was
first
he was in
Red
the
Bull
yeah.
competition drivers or something like that.
Yeah, and then 2007 Indy 500 Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, clearly
You're in
a
good
good guy
hands.
to have in your corner. So
I'd say you're in good hands in that one.
Yeah, and Nikki was on the team. Nikki Hayes was on the team.
Mhm.
We had
Yeah.
Jake Drew.
Yep.
That's a good team.
We
Yeah.
Colby Dubato was there,
Okay.
and it was just a really awesome team atmosphere. And one day I forgot what spot I was in for the championship, and I get hit. My dad's so pissed off. He's like, "Okay, we did enough karting. We're just gonna go get our racing license."
Mhm.
And the championship's over now. So because I got hit and taken out of like P6 at the time in the race and fell all the way down to like P20. So next week I'm at Lucas Oil getting my car license. It's thunderstorming, just pouring down rain. Get my license, and then did a bit of the Lucas Oil stuff. Did their scholarship, and this is 2018 now.
Yeah.
December, go to Sebring, miss like a week of school.
Nice.
And
I'm sure your mom was so proud of that.
She was fine with it. She was like, as long
Really?
as like, because I had my stuff down. It was biology and history and just stuff like that.
That's always the
And-
hardest, is having to balance school and racing at the exact same
Yeah.
time, to do that switch off, to go put your mind in the race mode, get in the car and go drive. And then once you get out of the car, you're like, do your debrief and all, talk with your engineer or your coach or whatever. And then boom, you got to throw the school hat on and go study a little bit in between
Well,
sessions.
so it was finals week.
Ooh,
So
even
there was
worse.
there was
Even
no
worse.
homework. I had all my packets done. I had everything covered. It was like physics, biology,
hmm
whatever math class I was in. And then I talked to all my teachers. I'm like, I'm going to do this thing. I'm trying to basically get a scholarship for racing cars to go race cars more.
hmm
And they were like, oh, that's cool. Just, here's this thing. You have to sign it and come back on Tuesday and Thursday for finals. So like everyone's on their winter break.
Yep.
And I come back to school Tuesday and Thursday to do finals. And then first ever race weekend, I guess, in a car, Lucas Oil at Laguna Seca, plane lands
Ooh.
at LA, and like I think it was LA, it was something in California at 4 a.m. Drive 2 hours to the track, or
Mhm.
however long it took. And so now we check into the hotel and it's 6 a.m. and I'm supposed to be in the car for first practice at 8:45.
Yeah.
So
And to add a little
first-
context here before
yeah.
we go into it, teachers, when it comes to school stuff, obviously they care about the school. That's what they're there for. That's their job. But when you say, as a racing driver, I'm going away to go race cars, or trying to get a scholarship to allow me to race more cars in the near future, for some reason they just don't understand it like we do. And
Yeah.
they expect you, oh, you're going away for a couple days, well, you can do this, this, and this at this certain time. It's like, no, I'm in the
You
car
don't
at
have
that
time.
I have no time.
No.
Like, the only time I'm going to be able to get my work done is literally when I get back to the hotel that night. Other
Yeah,
than that,
so-
it's like I'm off limits. I'm not thinking school or anything until I'm back at the hotel.
Yeah, and one of my teachers, he was like, "So what does the day look like?" Or like, and I'm like, "Well, this day I fly there, check in, sign a bunch of stuff to like register and
Mhm.
official like check in and say I'm there. Then we're in the car. We are doing like breakdowns and stuff, and this is just for the Lucas Oil scholarship, and 3 days of that, and then." After that, I want to sleep the next day on the plane on the way home,
Yep.
Yeah, 2 travel days.
and then just recover. And they were like, you know what, just come back next week, take your final. And but February 2019, yeah, 2019. Uh, get like an hour of sleep, get in the car. First day, I got P4 from I think P8. I passed a bunch of people on the start, so I think that's my little special thing is having really good starts when I have the car in gear, of course.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, I've seen
and
like
then-
even on iRacing for the Rolex, like you were
Yeah.
on it, passing.
Yeah,
A little sketchy, but you were on it.
it wasn't sketchy. It was just there was a gap between two cars, and the Porsche and the Lamborghini, so I just split that and went down the inside into the horseshoe and just made it work.
Who
So,
was
see,
the,
again, that's that Ayrton Senna quote.
Yeah, who's the Ayrton Senna quote? You're not a race car driver once you don't go for a gap you see.
But
Yeah.
it wasn't like what I saw, because Jake, Reed, and Evan were like all freaking out in the Discord.
Yeah.
And what they saw was like a gap, and I see like just a wide open garage,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and I just put the car there, and
It always looks a lot bigger from the driver's seat than it does from
Yes.
the outsider spectator's point of view.
Yes.
People just
Yeah.
So it's
how
funny.
the hell did you fit that car through that gap? It's like, what are you talking about? That gap could have fit two cars in there.
Right.
like
So-
the perfect example of that I think was USF at Indy GP last year.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that video. Yes.
Yeah, I started last because we had a gearbox issue, and I went from P26 to P13 on the first lap, and I P26 to P15 before turn 1, or like going through turn 1.
Jeez.
Yeah, so you just find the hole and then put the car there and
Did you
make
go?
it work. And
Yeah.
if it doesn't work, then you might have a check to write.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that about the iRacing 24. So last year I was teammates with Stommer and Matt Chubb and Blake Erickson, all racers, all kart racers, and I started the race. We qualified terribly, like 22nd or something in LMP2, and so overall class, and start 22nd, and by the end of the first stint, I'm 8th. And I was being pretty sketchy, and I was getting some of the same feedback that you were getting from Evan and from Blake and Chubb. They're like, "Hey, let's calm down. We got like 23 more hours to go. Let's chill out a little bit."
Well,
I was
and
definitely making sketchy passes, so I get
think
that.
with us, it was also Evan didn't register for the race properly, so we are already
Yeah.
disqualified. If I can
Yeah.
crash the car and not take anyone else out, and we're off in the first lap, it didn't really affect us because we're already disqualified. The 7-hour stint I had to do, I'm still upset about.
Yeah, so let's add some context. You did like 13 hours total, didn't you?
So I drove the first 2 hours.
Yeah.
Reed got in the car, really, really consistent. I made the setup a little bit too aggressive I think Jake got the setup a little too late to work on. And so he had a few off tracks, spins, stuff like that. So I got back in the car for 3 hours. So I'm already at 5 hours. And I bring us up to from like P14 to P2, or no, P5.
Okay.
Jake gets back in the car. Suddenly we're P2. I get in the car. I'm doing like another 2-hour stint after Reed. So now I'm at 7 hours, somewhere around there. And then I crash the car. I go away for a while and just, taking myself. I come back, and at midnight, like really close to midnight, I get in the car. Reed's like, "I'm going to bed. I'll wake up at 6." Jake's like, "I'm gonna take a 3-hour nap." And so I'm like, "Okay, I can triple stint this." And I remember like looking at the clock looking at the live stream, and like 3 a.m. rolls around, then 4, then 5, and like at 5:45, I'm like, okay, Reed should be waking up now if Jake's not. And 6 o'clock rolls around, the lights coming through the blinds, and my hands are like cramping up, my back's aching,
Jeez.
and
Like, did you have to go to the bathroom at all, or like?
I went during the pit stops. As soon as I had to change tires,
Yeah.
I just got up and ran over. And around like 7:45, 7:15, 7:45, I just hear Jake get back on the microphone. I'm like, hey, I have 2 laps of fuel left. You're taking the car over right now because I need to go shower or something.
Just dead tired for the graveyard shift, basically.
Yeah.
I'm
so I
notorious for bathroom breaks during league races. Like it's always because it used to be like I would go to the gym and then I come home. I might eat quick and then I got a league race. Well, when you go to the gym, you take your pre-workout.
Yeah.
Got a bunch of caffeine in it.
Yeah.
Not to mention you're drinking a bunch of water right before a 2 or 3 hour race. That's not good.
Yeah.
And so like I try to hold it, and I'm like, midway or almost end of the race, I gotta go. I literally lost the 2020 Iowa World Indy 500, or at least missed out on a podium because I had to pee with like 60 to go, and I literally was crossing the blend line as the pace car was. It was like a Lightning McQueen moment, except I didn't pass the pace car. I just missed out on beating the pace car out of pit road after I sprinted to the bathroom, and all that effort to get stuck a lap down, and I think I finished like 13th.
It takes practice, like a driver swap.
Yeah. You almost have to skip the washing your hands part, as gross as it sounds. You almost have to not do that part.
I never skipped that.
So
yeah.
How should I say? The moral of the story is, if you're gonna build a sim rig, make sure you build it next to a bathroom.
Yes.
So that way you have time to get out of the sim rig, use the restroom, and get back in it without losing as much time as possible.
And somewhere to put your gloves also.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Dang.
Because
okay,
that was the other, like, I didn't want to lose time like putting my gloves back on and trying to grab the wheel and stuff, so I like had the gloves right here.
Yeah.
Pulling into pit lane, hit the pit limiter, take the gloves off. Like you're loosening your lap belt.
You're loosening the belt, so that when you get back in the car, back pulled away, you start putting the gloves on and down the pit lane, like tightening the belts.
So I want to credit the running to the bathroom between pit stops experience from like playing games like Rainbow Six Siege and all that other competitive stuff, where like between rounds you have like 45 seconds to 1 minute to do something and step away.
I tell you, it takes practice. It takes practice. Yeah. Like those, like you say, you're practicing your pit stops, you're practicing your driver swaps. It takes practice to pull into the pits and then get out of the sim, go to the restroom, and then come back.
Yeah. And I remember when I got this rig, like the sim rig, it took a lot of practice to like work my legs out. And then once you get it down, you got it down like muscle memory.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. So how did you go from Lucas Oil to racing in the UK?
So what happened was I was racing Lucas Oil, and that was in February.
Yeah.
And then between that time, from February to May, I was just going to school, not doing really anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then Phil called my dad, and he was like, "You have an F4 test with DC Autosport in 6 days at Blackhawk Farms." And my dad was like, "How do I contact them?" And he's like, "Here's the number." My dad calls Don Connor, and is like, what do we need? And he's like, "Well, Grant needs to do a seat fit. And my dad's like, okay, well, wait, you have a Sunset Hills number. You're 15 minutes away from us, so we can do a seat fit on like June 1st. And May 31st is the graduation lock-in at my high school. So I had to stay up all night and
Oh,
go to the shop and get my seat fit.
Ooh.
they
And
probably
then,
thought you. They probably thought you were at some party or something.
no,
Walking in like
they knew.
hungover.
No, I was wide awake.
Yeah.
Because I was just so excited,
That's
and
wow.
I was just so excited to have a seat fit in the F4 car, and did some testing with them. Did a bit of testing with Primus F4. Then I got a call from Jeremy Shaw, who runs Team USA, the Team USA scholarship, and he said you should go run 1600. It's a little bit cheaper. It's very competitive. You'll get more racing for the dollar value, and it's just it's an experience you have to get. And we were hoping to raise money to race with Don, but that didn't come all the way through. So we went to the UK to race with Low Dempsey Racing. It used to be Cliff Dempsey,
Yeah.
and now it's
Historic team.
Ammonite Motorsports.
Yep.
And so I got to live with Cliff and Michelle Dempsey, and then Bryce Aaron as well. So there was a lot of fun that we had, despite
'Cause-
COVID lockdowns and everything.
Yeah.
So
Because there's a lot of like very notable, very credible drivers that have raced with
Lots
Cliff.
of drivers. Lots
Yeah,
of
so-
drivers.
So I got to drive Oliver Askew's car.
See?
Wow.
There you go.
There you go.
There's
Wow.
right there.
That's crazy. So I mean,
And
maybe
yeah.
you're not allowed to talk about this, but there was, I guess, a little bit of pushback with the entire Team USA deal. Are you allowed to talk about that? Do you feel comfortable talking about that? I know it's kind of a sketchy deal.
Well, I'll say is I wanted to race with I wanted to do another season with Low Dempsey and with Cliff and Andy
Sure.
and the team, but we ran out of money. Like
Yeah.
we outright ran out of money to go racing. And as soon as I landed from the UK, there was a company based in the US that wanted me to race here. This is where their business is.
Yep.
And they said, we want you to race some kind of open wheel series in the US. We don't really know much about racing. We just want you here in the US.
Sure.
And so we end up on the phone with some people, and they say, why not USF 2000? Just do a test, see how it goes, and then from there decide if you want to do 1600 again in the US or USF. And we were going, well, we know Cape is a good team. They've had all these drivers go through, so we call Cape, and they're full. Didn't know who was on the team at that time.
That's very ironic.
Hilarious.
Funny.
That would have been hilarious.
That's very ironic. So for
And
people that
so-
don't know, people that aren't in the loop, Cape Motorsports last year, 2021, they had two proper Cape Motorsports cars. They had two Ignite Autosport with Cape Motorsports cars, and those two cars were occupied by Evan Stommer, one of our hosts, and Spike Colbecker, who we talked about on Wings and Things last week, now driving for Turn 3. So, yeah, those four rides were occupied when you guys reached out. That's crazy.
And so someone was like, why don't you reach out to Exclusive Autosport?
Another good team, yeah.
Very good team, yeah.
And we're like, actually, yeah, that's a really good idea. So we reach out to Mike Duncalf, and we do a test with him. And team atmosphere was amazing.
Yep.
And they were really helpful, and I enjoyed spending time with everyone on the team. So I was like, yeah, I think this is that was pretty much all I needed was the amazing team atmosphere, and I really liked the engineers that we had. Andy was, killing it in the books.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, this is. I think we don't need to really look any further at other teams, and stuck with them. Did the 3 races with in USF. I was expecting to have funding for the season, which fell through at the last second every single time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's why I didn't run the whole season last year.
So for context, you ran Barber, St. Pete, and Indy GP, correct?
Yes.
Which had typically 2 races per weekend.
Yeah, 2 races per weekend and 3 at Indy GP. 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I mean, what kind of experience? I mean, like, what did you experience? What did you learn? Because obviously, you had some experience coming into it. Running in the UK, some valuable experience, I would say. But regardless, first season in Road to Indy, that's just a completely different step. I mean, you look at guys that jump in and it's kind of feast or famine, it seems like. And USF was incredibly strong last year
Very
in terms
strong.
of the talent pool.
It was
I mean, what
extremely
did you make
talented.
of your experience in USF?
I think it was awesome. I think I was racing with some of the best drivers in the whole country or internationally as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there were some tricks I had to pull out of the UK bag to make it around some people. I don't think I did anything necessarily as UK Formula Ford in USF, just
Mhm.
because over there it's a free for all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And over here, at the drivers meeting for St. Petersburg, they were like, "Hey, we're on a street course.
Yeah.
Don't be idiots." And then the first race, I
was gonna say the first race was like there was like 6 full course yellows or something.
yeah, and I made it around. I made it around the red flag wreck, which was
Was that
so,
where was it Vodanovich that flipped or got up on his side?
Vodanovich.
That was Vodanovich that went. The Vodanovich was the first one that went up, and then
Kent
Vaccaro was the one who went to the side. And the week before at Barber, from my point of view, I thought I went completely under Vaccaro, but he was just off to the side, and I could look up and see the bottom of his car as we went through turn 5.
Oh, geez.
And I think it was Vodanovich that ended up spinning at Barber, and Vaccaro hit him, and I could look up and see the bottom of his car.
Jeez.
Wow.
But at
Barber was kind of messy too that first race, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was maybe it was Miles that went off or somebody else, but that was first lap one of those races was messy.
I think Miles went off, and then my teammate Matt had kind of got blindsided by him rolling back across the track, T-boned Miles.
Sure.
And then I ended up going around the outside of 2 and 3. With maybe a few inches to spare between the 2 cars sitting there in the grass, and I think if I dipped a tire, I would have gone straight to the wall, I think it was Graham Rahal did a few years ago.
I think that was the race that Prescott Campbell won. I think.
Yes, Prescott
to start
won
the season. Yes, it was.
Yeah. So I sat down with him. Got to talk to him a little bit. We gotta have him on the show. He's a super cool dude.
He's a nice guy.
On the show.
Yeah, he's a super nice guy and was really willing with his time. And I was at Mid Ohio last year hanging out with Spike and Evan, and I DM'd him and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" It was just after the race, after the USF race, and it's like, "You gonna be around for a little bit?" And he had to dip because they were packing up before the Indy race got started. But no, I mean. USF, just being around a little bit that I've been in the paddock, it seems like a really cool atmosphere in general, regardless of the team,
And I think with St. Petersburg was my favorite track. It took like favorite track in the U.S. is now St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
Even though I slapped the wall in qualifying and that kind of messed me up. I just had horrible luck in qualifying
You kind of
last
think
year. I think
it's bound. I wouldn't say it's bound to happen, but it's
yeah,
it's a street course. Come on.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? There's basically concrete wall everywhere you look. But I agree with you, Grant, on this because racing in
Yeah.
St. Pete. I remember the first time I drove it 2 years ago, which was
COVID.
It was so,
That was the
yeah, it
COVID
was
weekend,
COVID.
wasn't it?
It was the COVID weekend.
Yeah.
It was so weird because the first time you get on track and you normally drive the streets, you're in
Yeah.
a race car, and when you're going down that first straightaway after the little quick chicane, you just see
Yeah.
traffic lights up top, and they're flashed or maybe going yellow to red because they're normal traffic lights. And you're just flat out going through a blasted through, like, this is illegal, and I kind of like it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You just know the streets are closed, so it's like we could do this and have fun. But the track is just awesome because it's closed down. You're the only group that's basically allowed to run this track because it's temporary. It's not going to be built any other time of the year. This is the one and only weekend and one and only chance to be able to drive it, and you're able to drive it. And
one and only session too.
Exactly, but like it just brings it the Grand Prix of St. Pete just brings in everybody from the state of Florida, the Tampa Bay area, the St. Petersburg area, and they all just flock to watch this race. And they make it a huge event. And that's why it's awesome to have as a season opener because, one, it sets up the tone. Two, you're in part of one of the biggest racing series in America. And three, everyone wants to watch the street course race because, one, it puts on great racing. Two, there's a lot of chances for carnage. And three, for drivers, it's just a fun, cool track to drive.
Yeah, speaking of carnage, I think we had 3 red flags in practice, and then in the race we had Evan get sandwiched right in front of me, and then I saw him like pop over the right rear of someone else. And then the 5-car incident where I remember thinking through the double right-hander where the DHL corner is, where everyone hits the wall on the exit. I remember peeking to the inside of the right-hander.
The right-hander.
So you have the like back straightaway after the fast chicane.
Yeah.
Then you have the right and then the long left-hander, and then it hooks like 3 right-handers.
Okay. Yeah.
It's where I think it was Matthias Lace clipped the inside wall and then hit the outside wall.
Yeah.
So going through that complex, I remember being like, I can pass the guy ahead of me right here if I just go to the inside. It's lap 1. I'll make it work. And right as I turn the wheel to the right, I can see Bogdanovich go like up in the air like this, and then the car kind of like pushes over to the side, and like whatever they're doing, I'm gonna watch on the replay later, and I just followed Jackson Lee through. And they're like red flag, and we drive back through, and I'm like, how are there, 5 cars in this?
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh yeah, someone slid along the guardrail, and I'm like, are they okay? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, I want the video of this after the race because the battle that I had with Jackson all weekend in both races was just incredible.
I remember hearing that race control was very mad after this race because there were like, I don't remember how many full course yellows there were, but you guys reached the time limit, I believe, and also there were like 14 of 26 cars finished or something like that. A very low number. It was half the field.
You had the field wrecked and everything like that.
Yeah, I think so. There were 6 cars in lap 1, and then I think Prescott went off.
Yeah, he had a wing
last
break.
corner.
Yeah.
And then the last incident was right in front of me. It was I think Jace Gessel and Bijoy Garg, or Bijoy Garg, and Jace clipped Garg, hit the wall. Michael Myers was right in front of me, and I remember like right before the turn in, I could see I could see a car like pop in the air. I'm like, I should probably slow it way down and just like try and fit the car all the way to the left as far as I can.
Yeah.
Michael goes in, locks up the left rear, and hits the Jay Howard car, and then kind of like comes back at me as I'm coming past. I'm like, please, please, I don't want anything to do with this. And
Dang.
that St. Petersburg was just crazy. And then in race 2, everyone figured out they should probably calm it down. I don't think we had a single caution, or no, we had one caution in race 2, I think.
I think everyone had the chance to look
yeah.
at their
I think that was for wasn't that one for Evan?
That was
I think
that
Evan
was
got taken
Miles
out in
Rowe,
race 2.
and that was Miles Rowe and Yuvan Sundaramurthy.
Yeah.
Oh, for some reason I was thinking Evan got taken out in both races.
It was I think Matt and Miles ended up hitting. Miles hit the wall, I think, and then I think Miles had a damaged car and then went a bit deep into.
He had a damaged front wing. He got his front wing
Yeah.
taken off.
And I don't.
Miles
I don't
had
really
a very
know the whole
unlucky
thing
season last year.
Yeah.
Which
lot
I'm trying to
of-
think. I can't remember who he's with this year, but he did sign with a new team.
with Pabst.
So he's with Pabst
Pabst,
this
yeah.
year.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, that was my first USF season. Hopefully not the last. Hopefully
one-
not the last
my
Road
one
to Indy
question
season.
For you, Grant, is this. Did you ever feel, because knowing you and Evan are really good friends, both at the Kartplex, and you guys grew up obviously from the same type of group, did you guys ever have like an awkward moment at the Kartplex knowing that you two were on two different separate teams?
I don't think so. I didn't really I think the first time I went to the Kartplex in a while was when money wasn't coming through to go
Sure.
racing, and I was just like have nothing to do, so I'll go to the Kartplex and then see what there is to do
But
there.
like just like hearing talk, like 'cause obviously you're in amongst of a team like that has 3 or 4 drivers. They're in amongst of a team that has 3 or 4 drivers. Everybody kind of criticizes each other's driving, but like you just sitting in the trailer, they start criticizing Evan or Spike. You're just like, I know those guys, and you guys are really like saying what's accurate or not.
I won't tell you what is accurate and what's not accurate.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
We'll
I
just get to the good
don't
stuff
think
now.
I don't think I did any trash talking.
No.
Man.
I think there was maybe there were maybe 2 drivers I did kind of say my thoughts on, and then I just kind of
I have an idea of who those drivers may be, but I'm not going to say it.
yeah.
I have a few ideas, considering some of the guys you had to race with last year.
So yeah, I have no problem with Evan or Spike. Because I remember at Gage Rucker's garage, he had an Xbox, and we would play, like, there was one time where we were just playing F1 2011 for like 3 hours.
Yep.
Jeez.
So I have no problem with them.
And that's normally how it is. Your competitors on the track, you guys race each other respectfully and have like that sort of respect for each other just because you know each other and your buddies off the track.
Yeah.
And that's normally how the racing culture tends to work. Yeah, if you guys get into it, yeah, be pissed at each other and be mad at each other for like a couple hours, maybe a day or two, but eventually you guys will say kiss and make up, you know?
Yeah, because I enjoy racing against Evan. I think the only incident where Evan and I directly had a problem was like Ignite, where it was this weird situation where we both kind of like rub side pods, and then I get a flat left front tire and his rear bumper falls off. So we're both out of the race, and it's just like we're both so confused as to what happened because we're just like we rubbed side pods
But
and
you
that was
guys
it.
just casually took each other out.
Oh, your valve stem probably got poked. That was
So,
that
yeah,
would have been with the aluminum. Those
That was when the
aluminum
valve stem
wheels.
got the valve stem got ripped out,
Yeah.
and I did another lap because I was like the tire's deflating, so I'll just grab this lap and then go in. And because I had already passed pit lane at that point, and Evan got black flagged because his like bumper fell off for some reason. So we were all just confused as to what happened.
Jeez.
But yeah, like there was one move where I was like, I've raced Evan for, or at least watched some kind of his racing for the last 6 years. And I was like, I remember at the Kartplex there was this one move where we were going down the backstretch, and then right before the corner he opens up the door and I move it down the inside. So I'm like, I wonder if he'll still do this 4 or 5 years later, and that's exactly what happened.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, that's wild.
So like I didn't get taken out by Evan or Spike, so I have no problem with them. I don't think I didn't get taken out by anyone actually. I just happened to be wrong place, wrong time with an incident going on in race 3 at Indy Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Which ended the race early, but no one I could be mad about because I just had nowhere to go with it.
It's part of racing.
Yeah, really, you had a pretty clean, first. I mean, it's not uncommon for somebody first moving into USF. Most cases, their first time running with wings, and it's not uncommon to see them run into some issues the first few races. And it seemed like it's pretty smooth for the most part.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's
I think,
definitely a positive to look back on.
I think I was really happy because, well, I don't know if I should be happy about it or upset because of my qualifying luck, but I think I was leading the Hard Charger Award before my last race.
No.
Really?
So, yeah.
So, and it's crazy what you say about qualifying and kind of the importance of it. I remember Evan talking about Road America last year, and there was a Q session for one of the races, and just kind of the idea of how tight the field is and how good, one flyer versus another, and just the timing of everything. The track went red on the final lap. Evan was on his flyer, and he was tracking to be like P8, and instead ended up like P20 or something. So it was a big difference, but kind of the idea that it's kind of a timing thing.
Yeah, at Barber, first race of the season, first qualifying session, it was the first time I always struggled with Charlotte's Web, turn 5, you go downhill, It's the left-hander. We look at the data, my whole lap is fine, I just lose all my time on the exit there. And it made me look horrible on the complete lap time chart. Yeah. And it was the first time I'd ever gone through there, and I could look at my steering wheel, and I saw I was up on time by, I don't remember how much, but it was a big number. And then they come on the radio and they say red flag session stopped, and I had some words to say, and my dad had a headset on, which I didn't know.
Oh boy! You get your Xbox taken away when you go home?
No. He was just like, you need to watch what you're saying, and I was like, I was just upset because it's the first time all weekend I finally got the corner right when it mattered, and then someone, I think it was like through a yellow flag zone, someone else drove off the track and caused the red flag.
Jeez.
Which was upsetting.
I would imagine, yeah. I mean, to reiterate yet again, USF was, I would argue last year's USF field was as deep in talent as it had been, maybe ever been. Maybe a long time.
I'd say it was the most competitive field ever since Oliver Askew and Renus VK were in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was tough. And it was pretty tough for me because in spring training I was consistently improving, and like every session was top 10. Then we ended up P3 the last session of spring training. I was like, this is going to be awesome, and then I don't really know what happened after that. I just kept screwing up turn 5, and that's where I lost all my time every single lap that weekend.
So, kind of moving forward, looking ahead to the future, we were talking about how, funding became an issue and it kind of fell through for you.
Yeah.
What are we looking at for the future? Do you got anything in the works? Anything in line? What you looking at? I know. We've talked a little bit about this previously about maybe IMSA could potentially be the move, like LMP3s. IMSA's kind of on the rise, and it's maybe a little bit more affordable. I mean, what are we thinking?
It's still a matter of funding.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just looking for as many sponsors as possible. Whether it's 100 sponsors that each want to put in $2,000, or one big sponsor that wants to put up $500,000. It's just that's what it's coming down to. So yeah, it's kind of tough to see that USF is about a week and a half or 2 weeks away from starting, and I, am not in Florida right now for media day.
Mm-hmm.
That's rough. And I mean, I do want to point out, we didn't have a specific segment for wings and things this week, but I do want to point out Christian Weir, our guest from last week, was P3 on the time charts.
He was.
Yes, that's pretty awesome. And Spike Kohlbecker, his teammate, was also P2. So the Turn 3 boys were up front. So I'm trying to think who was P1. Was it Nikki?
Nikki Hayes.
Nikki's pretty
driving
quick.
For Cape, I believe.
Yeah, he's with Cape.
Yeah, he's pretty quick.
Cape is going to be strong to deal with as always.
I think
no surprise.
Cape's going to be a tough team with Jaeger Jones, Michael D'Orlando,
Jagger Jones.
Jagger Jones.
D'Orlando's due to win it. He came so close last year.
I think if I can find the sponsors to race this season, I think it'll be even more competitive than last season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I just have to be on the grid.
Yeah.
But it looks like it'll be a really good season.
Yeah. So I mean, I know you said it all depends on money, but have you had any leads that would lead you to believe, okay, we're going USF racing, or we're going to go sports car racing? Yeah.
Multiple times. And
yeah, it tends to happen like that with
sponsors. I get it.
Like they want to see what you're interested. Yeah, we're interested in sponsoring you and all that stuff. And then once we send you what's going to cost, the paycheck, silence.
Yeah.
And you don't hear from them.
Well, a lot of it for them is also just ROI. Like, what can they make off of it? They say, you're not on TV. You're not. It's not IndyCar. They think of it as like, oh yeah, this is IndyCar, and it's not. Yeah. So
I think
I get it.
I think I was really good at finding really good ROIs on sponsors. So it was like every single time the pitch went great, the whole presentation was great. It's just it was every single time at the last second.
Yep.
No.
You throw a dollar figure in front of them, and it goes from there.
Well, no, I'd put the dollar amount in front of them. I'd figure out a way to get them a good return on their investment.
Sure.
So if you had any capital gains last year, please, to those of you watching, please let me know, and I can figure some stuff out for you.
Yeah.
So.
I want to jump into something quick. Crypto. You're a huge crypto guy. I'll be honest, Grant. When you talk to me about crypto, it's not that I'm not interested, because I think it's really interesting. Yeah, I just feel like you're talking to me in a completely foreign language, and I don't understand anything that's going on.
It's hard to understand unless you really know what's going on.
So
that's
kind of explain to us what cryptocurrency is all about, what all you do with it, and
I want to start off.
Sell it to me right now.
I want to start off by saying I am not a financial advisor. I am not licensed to.
He's a race car driver. You don't take his advice.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm not.
Now
I'm
your
not licensed to
contract.
give any.
You're taking financial
advice.
advice from a race car driver. What's wrong with you?
This is not financial advice. This is just my own opinions and
We're gonna have to throw this
life
disclaimer in the
experience.
show.
Yeah, you have to these days. So what I do is I get a bit of crypto. I build computers for people, and they're like, "What do you want?" And I say, "I'll take." They're like, "I'll pay you $500, and I'll take $500, throw it into Bitcoin or something, and then I start gaining interest on it yearly."
Okay.
But
Nice.
recently, crypto's been kind of doing a wave, so we need it to go back up. And if it goes up exponentially, then I can get back in the car. Because I think I make a lot less on crypto than people think I do for some reason.
You
I
think
think
you make a lot less?
I
See,
think I make a lot less than what people think I make doing
okay.
anything to do with crypto, because they hear so much about
They hear so much about
like
crypto that they think you must be
yeah,
skyrocketing in stock or whatever.
they hear so much about these people that took like the rest of their life savings and put it into crypto back in like 2016 or 2019.
Oh, and they
And
just let
then
it sit there. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and most of the time it's not like that. It's like people putting in over time, and then they'll slowly grow their portfolio. So being able to get a little bit of crypto and then gain interest on it yearly, well, it compounds monthly. So that's a little bit awesome, I think.
Yeah. Monthly Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, and you just have to do the research with it. Like I found an exchange that would pay way better interest than having just my money sit in the bank, gaining interest that way.
Mhm.
So that's what I've just been trying to figure out ways to make a little bit more here and there.
Makes sense. That's
And
pretty awesome, though. I can't say I would be able to figure that out.
yeah, and one of our friends, Zach, I feel like I'm like the broker or something. I'm like I somehow became the guy you ask like, what do I've got $7. I got $7 from Venmo. What do I invest in? And I'm like,
Wait,
have
who
no
are we
idea.
talking about? I feel like I know. I don't want to guess.
You know who? We're at his house all the time.
Oh.
So
Well, he's a host. I feel like he hasn't hosted yet, but I feel like.
So yeah, I somehow
Oh, boy.
became that guy of our friend group. Like I've got $7 that I want to grow into 1 million. What do I put it into? I'm like, I can't give you that answer, because if I knew, I would be doing it.
Yeah, everyone would be doing it.
Jeez.
But NFTs are an interesting one for me. I've been asked about that a lot. I just haven't gotten into it. I think that there's.
I think it's just dumb, isn't it? It's
I-
just an image that you could
It's-
save as, and
Yeah.
Well,
and-
it's like saying you own, like, say you want to own some meme, like you want to own the Mona Lisa, you own the Mona Lisa. You want to own like the original, Bad Luck Brian image, where it's the guy in the polo and he's like his face is all red for the school year or yearbook picture. If you want to own that picture digitally, you can, and say like, I own this picture. And that's kind of how it works. I think there's a lot of things going on with NFTs that I don't want to get into yet. So
yeah.
I think just everyone watching, do your research on investing and crypto and anything going on. Don't take just random advice from the internet, because
Yeah.
we are race car drivers. We're very irresponsible with money.
Yeah, don't
We
take
just like to
financial advice
spend
from us. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I love trolling people with NFTs on Twitter. Like if they post their NFT, I will literally save it to my phone and I will just reply to their tweet with that image with no
Yeah.
text at all. Just reply
And
with it.
with working at the Cartplex, I was literally just taking money and like whatever money I was making, I was taking it and throwing it into crypto, which is like one of the most volatile ways to invest in the hopes that it would skyrocket.
Yeah.
And some things did, like Doge and Shiba, but I didn't put enough in where it would have made a difference on
Fortune
what
out
I
of
was
it,
driving the
something like
next
that.
week. Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, let's transition a little bit here. We've got Speed Weeks this week.
Yeah.
The Daytona 500 is this week, along with the Xfinity and the Truck Series. We've got ARCA. We got the duels also. So we're gonna jump into a little bit of fantasy.
All right. I
of
think
one of
this
the-
is going to be the last topic I can do tonight.
Yeah. So let's talk about fantasy quick. So fantasy last week was the Super Bowl. Jordan and Nate were the only guys that picked the correct winner. Yeah. So +1 fantasy. Nate got his first fantasy point.
Nate's on
And
the
then-
board finally.
Okay.
Finally.
I'm gonna go early, straight to Daytona 500.
Go
I'm
for it.
gonna call. Do I get one pick on the winner, or do I get?
So let's clarify. For picks, it's you pick the 500 winner and you pick a random wild card and it could be for anything for Speed Weeks. So not just
Okay.
the 500. So duels, trucks, ARCA, Xfinity.
So I just wanna make sure I'm within the rules here because we're race
Yes.
car drivers. We always want to be within the rules.
Yes.
Yeah.
For
Sure.
my wild card, am I allowed to say I think there will be a crash?
It's a little too vague.
Okay, that's pretty vague.
A little
But
too
it's,
vague.
it's a wild card, right?
Yeah.
I
Okay,
guess, yeah.
so I want to start off saying I think Chase Briscoe is going to win the 500.
Okay. That's
an
a respectable
underdog
pick.
Okay.
That's an underdog
Yeah.
pick. Yeah.
It's just I don't know where it came from, but it's just like it's here, it's in my head. I'm going to say it.
Okay.
Chase Briscoe.
Wild card. I want to say there will be under green flag pit stops. There will be at least a 2-car incident.
On pit
Whether
road.
Okay.
it's
coming
cra-
into the
two-
pits.
whether it's 2 cars crashing onto pit road or 2 cars hitting each other in pit lane, there will be a 2-car incident under green flag pit stops.
And this is for Speed Weeks as a whole.
Sure.
Okay.
Or Daytona, or the Daytona 500 rule. Which are we doing?
Well, so the wild card can apply to anything in Speed Weeks.
Okay, so like as the whole weekend.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'll go with that.
I would take that's pretty good odds. All right, Jordan.
My
What you
pick?
got?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, I am going to say my 500 pick. The Fords have been strong.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this guy's been good at super speedways.
Yeah.
Ryan Blaney's going to win the Daytona 500.
You took my pick.
That was gonna be number 2. If I could have gone for number 2, that would have been my number 2.
So my pick is Ryan Blaney's going to win the Daytona 500. And for my wild card pick, this is over the course of the whole weekend. We're going to have 7 red flags.
Over the
7
course of the entire Speed Weeks.
red flags.
At least it's not gonna be like 2012.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, that's fair. All right. So before I give my picks, since Evan and Nate are not here, actually Evan is typing in the group chat right now. So Nate's pick. Nate picks Chase Elliott to win the 500, and he says there will not be a yellow in the 500 until after lap 50.
Okay.
Evan says that Kyle Larson is going to win the 500. And his wild card is Christopher Bell is in the lead and wrecks on the last lap. and Larson is the winner because of that. Very specific.
You know,
Okay, my pick.
he goes.
Sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
Evan goes very specific with his picks. Like, it's always someone leads on the last lap and either gets taken out or something happens to them.
Yeah.
Well, that's every
Yeah.
Daytona 500. So
I mean, realistically, yes. So my pick, I'm gonna pick Ryan Blaney, and it's not just because he's won a couple, like he won 2 Talladegas and the cutoff Daytona race last year. Since 2017, this dude has been in contention for the 500 win almost every year. 2017, when it was a fuel mileage race, Kurt Busch won it. Blaney was in contention up until the very last lap. 2018, he led, and I think he got taken out. 2019, same deal. 2020, when Newman had his crash, Blaney was second.
He was the one pushing him.
Yeah, he was second, last corner, last lap.
I thought he won that. Who won
No,
2020?
Hamlin won it.
I was mad
that's
because
right,
because
barely.
Blaney
Blaney.
turned Newman, and
Yeah.
when he
And
turned
Hamlin did the donuts
side
and stuff,
drafted
yeah.
him at the very last second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I remember.
and I thought, like, I was like, I screamed because Newman's crash was bad, but like I
Yeah.
thought Blaney won it. So I was like, okay, Blaney won this race. I did not even give it a second thought when Hamlin won the race, and then I was like, oh,
Yeah.
all right. So okay, yeah. So Blaney has been in contention. Like he's due to win it. All right. It's just a matter if he's if he survives. So Blaney is my pick for the 500, and then for my wild card, I'm going to say there's a rain delay at some point because
Ooh.
it's not
Florida.
a race in Daytona without a rain delay of some
Yeah.
sort.
Well, here's the
And
question:
that's any yellow or red flag for rain. I want to specify that.
over
So,
speed weeks or just the 500?
speed weeks.
Okay. Because
All right.
the best part is that the 500 always starts at 3:00 p.m. Eastern. So-
Started earlier. You
Started
have
at
more of
noon,
a time
noon
window.
or 1
Yeah.
o'clock. Like
Yeah.
that's when it's the best too, because it's during the day actually. But
Yeah.
because of that, if any rain delay or red flag happens, then it happens to end at night.
Then you have more of a time window to complete the race. I agree.
I mean, that's what happened. That happened in the past couple of years.
For sure. Hey Grant, thanks for being on, man. Appreciate
Yeah.
it so
Oh,
much.
thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
How
And
can
this is
people follow
fun.
you?
So
By
if
the
you
way,
guys, Grant Palmer Racing, like on all of my social media, from Instagram to TikTok. If I ever post on there again, I need to find some family friendly jokes that I can post on there. That's been the hardest part, seeing the TikTok algorithm recently.
TikTok algorithm, you could post anything and it could be questionable. I was thinking about that earlier today. Not to get too far off topic here. I was thinking about that earlier today. And I almost wanted to bring it up during the show. TikTok's algorithm is so annoying, man.
Yeah,
Because
it was-
there's some pretty good
yeah.
stuff. Like when I think of Vine 2.0, when I see some
Yeah.
of the TikTok stuff, it's just genuinely funny, and that's why I love TikTok. But I also hate it because you have this mixture of like teenagers doing very questionable things,
Yeah.
and also adults doing very questionable things.
Mhm.
And I'm like, there's no way this should be on the internet.
Yeah,
And
I think once I become like Mark Rober's got the YouTube algorithm down. I think once I figure out the TikTok algorithm, because the first video I ever posted on TikTok, I made it at like 3 a.m. and it was just me messing around in the sim rig
yeah,
before I went over to the UK. And I woke up, checked TikTok, and I saw I had like 99 plus notifications.
Mhm.
oh
Um,
jeez,
And I like tap on it and I see, okay, I got like 2,000 likes. And this is like
jeez.
4 hours later.
Wow.
This
and-
was this was before TikTok really blew up, right?
I think 2018, 2019
2018
TikTok
is
was
when it kind
like
of when it blew up.
that.
Okay.
That was like gold TikTok. But this was 2020, and I like 4 hours later I wake up, see it, and just go back to sleep, forget about it. I'm like, yeah, 2,000 likes. App's broken.
Mhm.
I shouldn't have got like I made it was such a stupid video,
Yeah.
and the next day my dad's like, "Did you post on TikTok?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "How many likes did you get?" I opened my phone and I see I got 300,000 views and like
Wow.
10,000 followers on one
Jeez.
video, and I'm like, why?
How?
And um, so I started making a few TikTok videos throughout my time in Europe as well. And I want to give a shout out to one kid who messages me like every day. His Instagram is RW channel. He like comments on every single post I make, so I just want to give a shout out to him.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
yeah, keep up the racing, keep up doing whatever like whatever you're doing, and just have fun. So
Awesome.
thanks for messaging me every single day, checking in and seeing how I'm doing. And yeah, just have fun.
That's
Fantastic.
freaking cool, man.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I will say, you know, like for the small audience that I have on YouTube, it's you know, I don't really think of it like this, but it's crazy when you got kids that say like, oh, you know, or even adults say come up to you and say like, I'm a huge fan of your videos. I'm like, a fan? Like, I don't look at people that watch my videos as like fans. I look at it as like my friends from the racetrack or my family. That's what I look at it as. I don't look at it as like, oh, these are my fans. Like, that's just kind of dumb. You know what I mean? But like, it really means a lot when it's like younger kids that they say they look up to you, and you're like a role model to them. Because that's like okay, like because then to me it sets the bar a little higher. Like I gotta set a good example for these kids. Yeah, no, I agree with that. All right, Grant. Thanks for being on, man. We gotta have you on again sometime. Hopefully,
Oh
the
yeah,
next
just
time you'll
let me
be
know.
in the seat of a USF car.
Hopefully,
So
well, if I can make that happen, and we can hook up a radio to
yeah,
and a webcam to the front of the steering wheel,
dude,
I
we'll
think we can
live
try and make it
stream.
happen.
Yes, we'll
Because
have like a little screen in there for the chat.
yeah,
You, it'll be like a
we'll
Twitch
get
stream.
we'll get one of those heads up displays that like projects inside of the helmet onto the visor, and I can
Yeah,
talk to chat
dude.
while I'm
Dude,
racing.
you'd be like Iron Man. You'd have like Jarvis like on the inside of your visor.
That was one of the questions I got was there was a lady who she designed some of the buttons in the cockpit of the F-18, and she was like, "Do you guys get like a heads-up display, or do you?" I'm like, "It's just like it's a display on the steering wheel that gives us all the information." And she's awesome. Her and her husband, Ashley and Deborah, they helped fund some of the racing I did last year. So I just want to give a big thank you to them and everyone from the Need for Speed Club. So
That's awesome, man.
yeah.
All right, guys. That's another episode of Arrive and Drive. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week. Peace.